Welcome to Real Talk with DMJ. Well, today we have with us my guest and Chante Gaines, and we have Nia Smith. I'd like to welcome you ladies to the show today.
Thank you.
Definitely. You guys said it both at the same time. You know, we're just going to sit here and chop it up and talk about some barriers and some issues that we've all been through. Mm-hmm. You know, as you being a community leader, a business owner, Nia, mm-hmm. and then also volunteering with Surviving Change and Hope 360 for many years. Mm-hmm. I really want to talk to you ladies about being within an organization. The trials, the tribulations, you know, the outcomes that being Black, mm-hmm. you know, and being at those tables, mm-hmm. About us fitting in, not fitting in, yeah. Being misled, mm-hmm. you know what I'm saying? And there's always a hidden agenda, mm-hmm. Using us for our numbers, mm-hmm. you know, and then tossing us aside. Mm-hmm. So that's why I was having you ladies here today. How those people, and I got to stop saying the powers that be, but those that hold the purse. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? How they do us. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to talk about that today. No, how do you feel as being in that arena? And when this happens, I know you've been at the table many a times, mm-hmm. Ms. Smith. Mm-hmm. So can you share?
Well, honestly, I feel like there is definitely a great divide when it comes to certain things in the community. I think when it comes to agencies wanting to deal and get into wanting to deal with minorities, they do pick the minority outreach programs and people who deal with them, and I do believe they definitely, you could use the word, use us to get out there and to create these, you know, bridges for everyone and to reach out to them. And then once that's done, we, you know, my experience, we don't get the credit. And I think that's also what a lot of the buy-in-fors or community people or people with 501(c)(3)s, everyone feels that somewhere in this community. And I really think that that's not a good thing, because we're all out here, we're all put in work, some more than others. Some people are doing this, some people are doing that, but the people who do contract us to go out here and do these works, they're not doing any of the footwork. Mm-hmm. They're doing the paperwork. And I think that's kind of how things get a little misconstrued about knowing what's really going on in the community versus being in the building and pushing paper. You see people through the paper. We see people in person, and we deal with their families and things like that.
So you're saying most of the organization, we're in the grind of things.
Correct.
Definitely.
Correct.
And I would have to say you're correct about that. I would say, do you feel, and this is directed at Ms. Gaines, do you feel like and you've been in the programs, mm-hmm. do you feel like going to the organizations that are prominently white, that they serve as a woman of color, serve us fairly, serve you fairly?
No, I don't.
As your experience?
I don't, because I'm currently going through an experience.
What experience?
So currently, I've been dealing with, KCR, with their...
this is real talk, so everybody can be candid. Okay. We don't have to hold back.
Right. Okay.
If you would have seen some of the shows, none of my guests hold back. Mm-hmm. We just talk about it.
So I've been dealing with KCR with a situation with the SHP program, which is the Supplemental Housing Program, which consists of, it's supposed to be a 2-year program that you, at the end of your 2 years, you receive your Section 8 voucher. Well, I was in the program for the whole duration of the 2 years, and then I was terminated from the program. But I had no explanation or reason why I was terminated. I was just wrongfully terminated and then set aside. So at that point, they quit paying my rent. From there, when they stopped paying my rent, they basically, I just didn't exist to them anymore. When I would go and contact them to try and find out what the reasoning was for them to terminate me, they started to avoid me. Then it went from them avoiding me to not taking my calls anymore. And then I ended up going to the office and I started becoming present. And so when I started to do that and showing up at the office, I ended up finding out. Now, mind you, I was in the program for 2 years. I didn't know who my case manager was. And so I ended up finding out who my case manager was, finally speaking to my case manager for the first time. And then from that...
After 2 years?
After 2 years.
Okay.
And then so when I finally spoke with her, I ended up finding out that I should have already had my housing choice voucher because there was some required classes that were supposed to be taken throughout the duration of the program, which I already took and I completed before my 2 years was up. And so she just found that out at the time, which I don't understand how. She just found that out, but she did. And then she told me, well, why don't you have your voucher? And I said, well, I didn't know I was supposed to have my voucher. I thought I had to wait for the duration of the 2 years. And she said, no, once you complete those required classes, you're supposed to graduate and get your voucher. Well, had I had any contact with my case manager throughout the duration of my time being in that program, I would have known prior to that. But since they terminated me, that she told me, I said, well, can I just get my voucher then? Because I did already complete the classes.
So you completed the requirements to receive your voucher. And no one never told you because
I unknowingly completed all of the required classes to receive my voucher. So I didn't have to stay in there the whole duration of the 2 years because I already completed all the requirements that it was taken for me to be able to get my housing choice voucher. But I didn't know because I had no correspondence with my case manager. So that was just one thing. And so I just said, okay, well, since you guys terminated me, because we're under contract. Like, I'm signing a contract with you guys that states that I'm supposed to do A, B, and C. I held up on my end of the bargain. You guys didn't. So that leaves me now. You guys aren't paying my rent. So 3 months had gone by. I didn't get a 14-day notice from my property manager. I didn't get a 30-day notice. I didn't get a pay or vacate. I just had one day I was on my way to work and I got a knock at the door. I opened up the door and it was my property manager, someone from corporate. They were handing me some paperwork that said that I was getting evicted.
So by them being unorganized, not staying in contact with you, you not receiving a case manager during that 2-year process, it caused you to become, don't cry, it's all right, homeless, because you have 3 girls, correct? You received an eviction, and because of their negligence. Now, I know they went through a transition there, because we went through a transition as well. Our organization did. Our organization, Surviving Change, did. And where we were supposed to...
Do you guys have any tissue?
No, you have to say it.
Do you guys have any tissue?
Yes. We're going to go ahead and get you some. Okay. I'm sorry, yes.
That's okay. I didn't expect to be crying.
No, it's because this puts you in a dilemma, hardship. My thing is when we're working with people's lives, and everybody knows how I work. I always tell everyone, do not play when you're working with people's lives, especially when you're an organization. Thank you. There you go.
And the whole purpose is to prevent homelessness. I was preventing homelessness by entering into that program. I knew that at that time, I was living with them. My mom is partially paralyzed, so I was helping out with my mom. I was helping my dad out with my mom, so my kids and I were living with my parents. And knowing that they were getting ready to move to Texas, we were preparing for them to move to Texas and for my girls and I not to be homeless. So I entered in the program thinking that, at the end of the program, I was going to be able to receive my voucher. But throughout the duration of the program, they were going to pay my rent wherever I moved to. So that's what they did. And I moved out as soon as I got into the program and stuff. And start taking my classes, then they start KCR and Bremerton Housing merged together, and they start paying my rent at my current location that I was living in because I moved out into my apartment. So as soon as I did that, my parents left. They went to Texas. That was the last of my family.
So you're telling me you were compliant, and so you had to be working with someone to go at KCR to go ahead and be able to move to
Yes.
your own place.
And that was in the beginning. I was.
Okay.
I was in,
and then you got lost in the shuffle along the way.
So that's what I believe is because, so Miss Blackwell over at the Port Orchard KCR is the one that established this program. It was really early in the program when I was in the program that the program got taken from her and put into the hands of a couple of other people that I don't really know who it was. I know Elizabeth Hoyer was the lady that took over after her, and after I took my required classes, we kind of like lost contact with everyone because after that, like all of the staff kind of disappeared, like blew away into the wind. It was like I just existed in this program, and that was just it. So I just finished the duration of my 2 years. I would have just my annual recertification. So I did my first one. And then after that, I just went through my second year with no correspondence with anyone. I just had lived in my apartment. They paid my rent, and then that was it. And I knew that come that next recertification, I knew that I was supposed to be receiving my housing choice voucher because that was my 2 years in the program. So when I received the fact that I was going to get terminated, I was like, what is this? So then I reached out, and I was talking to Trinity over at Bremerton Housing. She was the one that was telling me about this because she was the one that sent me my annual application. The first one that I received in the mail wasn't the right application. So I reached out to Trinity and told her, this isn't my annual application. I don't know what you guys thought you guys sent me, but it's the wrong application. So she sent me the actual application via email. And so I filled it out. I sent it back to her, and she couldn't access it. And so I said, okay, well, since you can't access it, she asked me if I could just print it out and then bring it to the office and put it in the slot box. And I did that. And then after that, she said, Chante, I'm sorry, I just received an email that states that you already been terminated. And I asked her why. She said she didn't know. So to go to KCR, so that's when she referred me back to KCR and said, if they reinstate you, then I'll put you back and I'll start paying your rent again. And I said, okay. So that's when I started my journey being boisterous with KCR, talking to trying to find out what happened, why was I terminated? No one had an answer. A lot of the people, when I started talking to people trying to find answers about my termination, they didn't even know what the that SHP program
So you're
was.
saying talking to the people, what people? Are you talking about the
staff
people?
over at KCR?
Okay,
so
because
it's
we
just
needed to know.
different staff that I would correspond with.
So far as what I'm understanding, you at KCR, you got lost in the shuffle.
That's what I believe.
And then you're saying it was different people. I know they did a big turnaround because the organization Surviving Change was going through, and the Buying Force through a transition down there with them too. We were supposed to have a contract. We had a meeting down there with them. It never went nowhere. It was October, matter of fact, during the same time that you were going through your ordeal, and which I know for a fact the Buying Force had a meeting with them and the county and with KCR. And then next we know we were supposed to be renewing our contract, getting another contract, and next minute we know they had given it to somebody else without letting us know and not telling the truth, and had a meeting already planned the next week because ours was October 16th, and they gave it to somebody else and happened to tell that other organization that us Buying Force that had been with them since August of 2020 that we didn't want the contract. And then so I know they did a big transition down there because they were trying to go ahead and wean us out, even wean out some of their employees like Carla Foster. They had Ray Hill.
Yes.
She was the one that did all that. The next one, Karma came and she got walked off the job. Then they got rid of a lot of people. and their HSC department. You know what I'm saying? So that's probably why, since so much transition, I believe you got lost in the transition because of the disorganization or the transition or whatever they had, the chaos that was going on there.
And the program was shuffled, and like it was transitioned into from hand to hand to hand throughout the duration of the 2 years that I was in this program. I do know that. And with that being said, when it was handed off to all these different employees, like they didn't find, I believe they didn't find the program lucrative, because at that point, I mean, a lot of people were kind of falling out of the program, and I believe, I don't even know. I want to say, I feel like I was the last man standing, to be honest with you, because I know a couple of people that were in the program when I first started, because I was one of the first candidates for this program. And so I want to say that I was one of the last ones standing. I believe that because I know the couple of people that were in the program with me as well, they just moved away or another.
Did they just fall off?
Yep.
And what's the name of that program again?
The SHP program is called the Supplemental Housing Program. And so it was a small program, and it helped out so much because we ended up doing like budgeting classes. We had to take, we did finance classes. We helped us get our bank accounts back established, helped us get back in the working field. We had to, we had the budgeting and the budgeting class to help our credit and stuff was the best part of the program that I feel was most beneficial for me, because at that time I was getting my first apartment, and so I was learning how to pay my bills. I was learning how to do that wisely and make sure that I was boosting my credit as well, being more credit savvy and mindful and more appreciative and smart about how I budget.
How long did that last?
So that lasted for about a good 6 months or so.
And then it just fell off?
Yep.
And you just got lost in the shuffle? And then now the ending results, you're homeless.
And I'm homeless, and no one knows why I'm been terminated. They barely know about the program. Everyone that I've spoken with, they have to educate themselves about the program as I'm telling them about the program. And this is every single employee that works at KCR.
That you've spoken with. Go ahead.
That makes sense, because I spoke to you about me and Ethan's situation, transitioning from his apartment, and he was supposed to move in with me, and then my house was unlivable, and we were in the hotel. Remember, I was telling you about that. And they started off paying, and then they said they couldn't pay anymore because technically I wasn't homeless. I was a little confused by that. I said, what do you mean technically I'm not homeless? I'm definitely homeless. And so I don't know, is there variations of it? Homeless is homeless. You don't have a place to lay your head. And they had put us up in the hotel, and then all of a sudden they just stopped paying for the hotel. When I went back in to redo it, I know a lot of people who to extend it, yes. I know a lot of people were in the hotel. Now, you're talking to a person who worked the program. I were with you with Hope 316 Survive and Change, putting people in these hotels through KCR. I've been doing it since 2020, so I know how the program works. And because they're not aware that I'm actually a behind the scene person,
yes,
and I'm coming in for help, but I've been doing this for 2020, so I know the rules, the regulations, and I know how this works. So for you to sit there and tell me to my face, this is this and that, I'm sitting there and I'm just kind of laughing within myself, because I'm just like, you have no clue who I am and the things I've done, and I know what you're capable of doing. I know your budget. I know everything that you have.
That's the thing,
and you're trying to tell me this, right? And so then I get pulled into the office. What is her name? At KCR, the lady who's over the hotel vouchers. I want to say, I don't remember her name.
Currently?
Yes.
Allie Moyer?
Allie. Yes. Tall, heavy set, kind of, okay. Yeah. So she pulls me into the office. oh, technically you don't qualify and we don't know how we're going to cover what we've already given you. And I said, I was just like, oh, I'm confused by that. Because I definitely qualify. And not only do I qualify, but my disabled client qualifies. He is completely homeless. He was supposed to move with me. We are homeless. The hotel you pay for has to accommodate me, his nurse, and him as well. And I said, so I'm a little confused why you're saying that. I said, not only does he not qualify, he definitely qualifies under Disability Act. So, but yeah, literally pretty much told us we were on our own and everything like that. And that's kind of why KCR has the reputation they have. They love telling people things that are not true. Because either you don't want to work or you don't want to put forth the effort. You're getting paid. This is your job. You're getting paid to think, to figure things out, to problem solve for people and individuals who need help. This is what you get paid for. But you know, I know you're saying there's a lot of transition and a lot of people got fired, but honestly, in my opinion, there's a lot of more people who should have been let go because some of the main people that were the main problem are still there. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, Mr. We're talking real talk here. And you're saying we're being real. You know, the things we've worked and how KCR did our agency and how they try to put you down as honestly as a fall guy and backdoored you, took clients, lied, defamed, you know, really. I mean, are we allowed to cuss?
I do all the time.
Okay. Literally tried to shit on your name and really to the point where it got personal, extremely personal. I witnessed it. I'm just saying we're talking about it. And I'm just like, you know these things, like the things our agency went through with KCR, taking our clients, lying on us, lying to our clients about us, telling people not to work with us, telling people that you were scamming and we were scheming and stealing money and having deals with landlords. Well, come on, Miss Deborah. We know all this stuff took place, how Commerce was backing and not doing their job to protect the buy-in fours and to instead they were I mean, at the end of the day, they're still giving money to KCR and KCR, the agency itself is still the issue.
So, in other words, you're saying there's nobody holding Kitsap Community Resource accountable
at all. And that's not only are they not holding them accountable, they're continuously giving them money to waste. You just literally had a whole set of people mismanaging money, paying themselves, paying their own rent, paying their father's rent, paying their kids and cousins and aunties in Mexico's rent. And you still are giving them money. But yet people are coming in, me, myself, her kids are coming in. And because their employees themselves are spending all the money and it's not towards what it's supposed to be towards. They're making things up. And I will say this, and please challenge me. If anyone, please challenge me out there. There's documentation. You guys had employees walked out of the office due to what they were doing internally. And this is called white collar crime. This is called paper crime. Like these are felonies. This is federal government stuff.
You know something? We're going to come back. Ladies, I can see that you're really, this conversation is much needed. And what we're going to do, we're going to come back for part 2 and we're going to wrap this up. And I really want us to continue this conversation. But I'm going to tell my audience, tune in for part 2 of Real Talk with DMJ.